Ah, oh, whoo, that's right. Bright lights. Alright, you duelist enthusiasts and card flapping gurus, welcome to the kingdom. I am your Cicerone, King Shy, and today what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dive into a wonderful deck profile of zombie Hecahands. Now, when it comes to zombies, they have not gotten the greatest rap over the last few years. They've actually been kind of pushed to the background for a little while. Now, with the release of the TCG exclusives for the Pumpkin things, which we'll get into here in just a moment, as well as the recent Blazing Dominion launch with the additions of the Hecahands stuff, it just made sense to kind of get this all together here. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these videos here on my channel, so if you like what you see here, hit that like, hit that subscribe, definitely helps out the channel here, guys. And without any further interruptions, we're just going to dive right into it here, and we'll start here with 3 copies of Pumpkin, the King of Grave Ghosts. Now, this card is the card you absolutely need to run this deck. Now, in case you guys didn't know, what the TCG released with the zombie stuff, they were all Caller Haunted kind of related, kind of how Radiant Typhoon was with Mystical Space Typhoon, but you need him. He's your combo starter. He's your end-all, beat-all. He's going to be the thing you're going to go into constantly. He's where your combos are either going to start, mid, or end, so you definitely need 3 copies of him. Now, next thing you're going to need here is Algul Misera, and 2 of those. So Algul Misera is just staple zombie, strong zombie stuff. It stops for destruction. It comes back to the board. It's going to give you an extender. It's just fantastic. And of course, you're going to need the first ever Ghost Girl, Ash Blossom. It just takes me back, because honestly, like, when she first came out, that was really kind of the first time the game really got into the whole, like, hand trap era setup, and yeah, like, she was just staple from there. She's still staple for me personally, but, you know, we're kind of moving away from hand trap format, I guess you can say, or hand trap. It wasn't really format. It was like hand trap, like, realm, I guess you could kind of say it was, because it wasn't a format. It was for a very, very long time, that hand trap sort of thing. So we're finally getting away from that, but you still keep her around because, I mean, she's going to give you outs and answers to things. So, yeah, you're going to hold on to her still at this point. It's 2 copies of Stare with the Snake Hair. Now, this card right here is really going to be the card that's going to help you get to the Pumpkin. Like I said, mid-combo. So it's kind of like you're running 5 Pumpkins almost, because you're going to get to it with her a lot of the time. And on top of that, she's going to be your negator for something. Moving right along here, we have 1 copy of Army of the Haunted. Now, this card, you only need really 1, because once you have Call of the Haunted on board, it's really hard to get rid of this. It's going to keep coming back, keep giving you extenders. It's an extra 6 on board, and 6 is where this deck is really going to sit for most of the time. So, yeah, you definitely want 1 of these, not 2, because you can only really bring back 1 at a time anyway. It really just makes sense to just have the 1 and have it just do a lot of work recycling. Next up, we have Great Mammoth of the Netherworld. Now, Great Mammoth is a card that I actually don't go into too often, to be honest, but if I need an answer for something to just get it off the board really quick, it's good to know that it's there for me. You have a lot of things that are going to kind of get you the outs that you really are looking for, so having 1 copy of these is perfectly fine. Now we're going to get into one of the new cards that came out in Blazing, and that is going to be Officiating Reverie. Now, this card right here is a definition of redo, reuse, recycle. Like, it's just all the R's. Like, that's why, I mean, it's even her name, Reverie. Like, it's crazy. But her effect is so good because you're going to get her to board. You can pitch your Algul Misera, your Army of the Dead. You can pitch, like, basically all the zombie things that you would want in the grave to actually be able to use them, to then get her to the board, use her as material, have her sent to grave, banish her to get a zombie back to board when Xyz goes, and then next turn get her back right attached to another Xyz monster again. So, like, she just is going to do all of the things that you would want to do with a lot of different cards on her own. So she is fantastic as an addition. And then she also, which is really cool, which we'll get into in a moment, she actually has an Xyz monster that's kind of like her, like, level up, that really helps utilize her ability even more. So a lot of zombie stuff really does that too, by the way, where they really, like, go full circle with a lot of things. So yeah, definitely plus side to that. Then of course we're going to have one of my favorite zombies here, Chang-Chi the Spirilo. Spirilo? Spirido. I said she's one of my favorites. I can't even say the name right. Either way, you have Chang-Chi here, and she is your foolish burial for your zombie stuff. On top of the fact that she herself, when she's banished, she's going to come back. So there's just so many things she does. And I remember there was a version of this I ran before that ran Allure of Darkness. I don't run it anymore. But yeah, when you ran Allure with her, it was just so good because it was just so free. Like, Allure was just free. She's definitely a one-of. She's going to get you a lot of stuff you need in the grave anyway. So yeah, just fantastic plays. And like I said, she's actually part of one of the main combos, which I'll do a combo video later with the zombies as well, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how the different combos can go. So that's it for the zombies. We're going to go ahead and now dive into the Hecahands side of things. I'm going to start with 3 Ibtel. So Ibtel is the card you want in 3 because it is going to be the thing that gets your turn started for the Hecahands side of the deck on your turn. And with Ibtel also being the 6, it's going to synergize super well with the zombie stuff. So yeah, you definitely want 3 copies of Ibtel. Then we have 2 copies of Yaddle. I call it Yaddle. You want 2 copies of Hecahands Yaddle. It's going to be the starter that you want to get to the Ibtel to then get your combo started for the turn. It's very similar with the snake, with the stare, with the snake hair, with the pumpkin. You're basically running 5 copies of Ibtel, so it really helps with consistency in that aspect. Then moving right along here, we got 2 copies of Godos here. Godos, just super good on your opponent's turn. If they went first, they lost a dice roll. You start off with the Godos, you could really mess with your opponent's hand and potentially make them pass their turn if you pluck the right card. So super duper good. On top of the fact that with all the Hecahands stuff, they can't be destroyed by battle, but they also don't destroy anything by battle. But they're also really good to come mid-game if your opponent can't pop and all they can do is run over stuff and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna sit in defense and you're gonna pass to me, cool. Like, so great in that aspect. And moving right along here, we have 2 copies of Gygas. Gygas gonna be your main starter you want to go into. It's gonna be the thing you want to search off with Ibtel. Take those top 3 cards off your opponent's deck and get into bringing something to your side so you can really get your combos going with the Hecahands side of everything. We then have 1 copy of Brius. Brius is gonna be that card that it really is a one-of. It's one of those cards that's not always useful, but when it is useful, it is useful. So it's one of the things you really want to keep around if you can. Once again, this is my version of it, guys. So I'm running the stuff that for me has worked, and I've done pretty decent with the deck so far. So I want to make sure I'm at least give you guys some tidbits here on how to use each one of these things or where's the best place to use them, and even what stuff that I've been on the fence about. And then finally, of course, we have another one of the cards that came out in Blazing Dominion, which is going to be Hecahands Mancubule. Now, Mancubule is going to basically act as the fusion fodder setup to help the Hecahands get to their fusion stuff. It's really nice to be able to fuse without the need of Tartarus. And if you're ever in one of those situations where, let's say Tartarus got banished or negated or whatever the case, you still can be able to fuse as long as you can get to this. So it's really an alternate way. It's not your primary way, but it still is an alternate way that you can still get to your Hecahands fusions to be able to start plucking cards from the opponent's board. So that's going to be it for the monsters there. We're going to go ahead and dive into the spells. And we're going to start with 3 copies of Ectoplasmic Fortification. Now, this is going to be the card that also is going to act as one of your starters here. Like I said, all roads lead to Pumpkin. I mean, he's on the card. He's staring at you. You need to use this card in 3. It's so crazy when you think about one of the biggest things in the game right now is consistency, and that's what people are always chasing. That's what people are always trying to make sure that they get to. And the deck has that in spades. You're just like, yeah, I have 3 copies of Pumpkin. I have 2 copies of Stare. I have 3 copies of Fortification. Well, yeah, I'm going to get to the Pumpkin one way or another. Like, that's just, I'm going to get that effect off. I'm going to get it off. So definitely 3 copies of Fortification, enough said. Then for the Hecahands line, you definitely need 3 copies of Hecahands. There's no way around that. I've seen builds where people are saying, like, you should run. You absolutely need to have this card in 3s because it's just good. It's just good, and you just want multiple of them. Why not? Why wouldn't you? You want less of a good thing? I like more of a good thing. Speaking of more of a good thing, let's go with the Triple Crowns. Now, this card excites me because it's a card that when you look at it, you're just like, that's a lot of effects. What did my monster do to deserve this? Like, it's crazy because the stuff that it can do, it just puts that monster in a bubble. And you can't do anything at all. You can look at everybody do stuff. You can enjoy the fact that you can't be dealt with that turn, sure, but this card's crazy. Actually, what's even crazier for me personally, this card has replaced impermanence in almost all my decks because it's just that good. Like, I don't care if you're going to go off on your turn, because now that we're getting away from hand trap realm and we're now going into full-blown board breaker mode, and that's that card that is going to both protect and be aggressive. And it's actually funny because when it first came out, it was looked at very mid. And I think it was because people were misevaluating how good the card actually was. Now everyone knows. Everyone's like, yeah, like, card's busted. But at the time, people were like, yeah, no, I'm not sure about that. It only hits one monster. It's like, yeah, but that monster becomes useless. Or a wall for the turn. What? Yeah, no. Insane. Need this in threes. If you don't have copies of this, I'm actually working on trying to find options that can do what this does. There's a couple things out there, like Spellbound kind of does a little bit of it, but not really. And then, of course, like, the next card we'll get into here in just a moment is going to be one of those cards that also kind of does it, but not really. But it's in a league by itself, in my opinion. It's probably the best card in the format, staple-wise, right now. Moving right along here, we'll go ahead and continue. You're going to need 2 copies of the other Forbidden crazy card, Forbidden Droplet. Now, the reason why you want 2 copies of this is because with the zombie and Hecahands, they're really going to flood the board a lot. So they're really give you a lot of food for what Droplet wants to do. And it's really nice to be able to say, I can use my crown, they can't chain, and then I can also use Droplet to hit other things, where one monster might be indestructible and untouchable, but the other ones will be much smaller and their effects will also be negated. And it's also great when you're going to be attacking over something and you really need something to just go small. Fantastic for that too, because then you're going into your damage step and your opponent really can't react to that, to too many things. So it's really a good addition to also have, essentially. So now we'll go ahead and continue on with some staples here. We definitely have the Call by the Grave. Everyone knows what this does. They know what it's for. Enough said. 1 copy of Crossout. This was a card that I've gone back and forth with, love-hate relationship-wise. But one thing I have learned is Crossout is, if you have Crown, Crossout's a fantastic answer to Crown. It's probably the main answer to Crown. That and, of course, Solemn Accusation. But that's usually sided. Just fantastic for if you ever run into a mirror match. Great for that, of course. But mainly I run it for Crown and for Ash, which 2 of the biggest things that I've seen for the most part. Then we also have the Hecahands Tartarus, of course. You're going to need the copy here to make sure that you can go ahead and go into your fusions. Just helps to continue the combos, helps utilize your opponent's monsters to better control the state of the game and the flow of the game. Then we have the 1 copy of Illusion Gate. Illusion Gate, just good, just a great card. Once again, board breaker realm that we're in. It's going to be the card that you're going to want to get your hands on if you can. Yes, it's a once per duel, but a Regeki and Monster Reborn put together, can't really beat that in too many ways. So, yeah, it's a great card to have. On top of the fact that with Solemn Accusation now being a thing, it's going to get hit if you activate it. And generally, your opponent won't really go for a 3,000 for that because you can only use once per duel. But with it being negated, you can technically use it again. So they might say, hey, you know what, let me go ahead and pay 3. And if you only have 1 copy of it, then fine. But I have been seeing builds where people are running 2 copies of it, sometimes 3, because they want to make sure they draw into it. So it's just one of those, like, yeah, you can do this, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. And speaking of dodging Solemn Accusation, the last card we're going to go into, of course, is going to be Regeki. Now, this is a great and cheaper, of course, alternative to Illusion Gate. But it's also great to kind of have them both in the same deck. The reason why is because with Accusation being a thing, more often than not, your opponent's going to assume you have more copies of something. So it's really good to kind of mix and match between Lightning Storm, Brigade Key, Dark Hole, and Illusion Gate. Like between those four big spell board breakers, it's just good to kind of have multiple options to be able to synergize and run through your deck and really not have to worry about it too much. So those are the two that I've gone with for now. But I can understand the argument if somebody says, "Hey, I want to do Dark Hole instead," or "I want to do Lightning Storm instead," or what have you. Then finally, we get to the traps. You need two Call of the Haunted, just kind of the crux of the deck. Super OG card. Actually, there's new art that's coming out soon, so I'm super duper excited for that because there's another Ghost Girl on that one. Clean. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to get it, actually. And it's going to go in here. Next, we have one copy of Ibal. Now, Ibal is really just staple for Hecahands. You really kind of need it. That and Yadal, you need both. You really need to have Ibal because it's going to be the thing that's going to let you negate, snatch a monster. You now get to use it for yourself. It's just good, and it really does continue on with what the Hecahands want to do, and even what the zombies want to do to a degree. So, yeah, Ibal, fantastic. Then we're just going to go ahead and dive right into the next one, which is Yadal. You need that too. It's going to go ahead and take your opponent's stuff. Like everything your opponent uses, everything that is theirs is yours. Why not? If they use a crown, you can use the crown. There you go. If they use the Brigade, you can use the Brigade. Yeah, absolutely. If they use solemn accusation, you can take that solemn accusation and use it yourself. There you go. Like, it's just why not? Why not? The Hecahands is just, it's silly. The Hecahands is so crazy. It doesn't make sense. And then we'll get into the last card here in Blazing Dominion for this deck. Specifically, it's going to be Hecahands Bait, which is so bland. Like, just a complete side note, but Ball Hecahands. Ooh, sounds exotic. Yadal Hecahands. Oh, sounds wild. Then Hecahands Bait? That's so mid. We're just going to go ahead and dive right into the extra deck here and make sure we keep things rolling. We're going to go ahead and start with Pumpkin, the Great Ghost King. There's a lot of kings in this channel. A lot of people getting crowned. This is crazy. Pumpkin, the Great Ghost King, is going to be the main monster when it comes to the zombie combo really side of things. He's the main thing you want to go into because of the fact that he can help search. He can stop targets. Just great overall for what the zombies really need. So that's going to be your first one there. And we're going to get into the next one here. It's going to be Pilgrim Reaper. Now this card here is, in my opinion, underrated. Pilgrim Reaper is so good with this deck, specifically because of the fact that if you mill your Hecahand stuff, specifically Yaddle and Ibtel, they're going to get stuff back from the grave. So if you mill a bunch of your Hecahand stuff, they're going to come back. You mill your zombie stuff, you're going to get to use them. And the amount of times that this card has actually come through for me in clutch mode, crazy. And what's nice about it is even once you use that first effect, you can go right into Undying Legion, which we'll get into here in a second. But yeah, fantastic. Great card. Underrated in my opinion. Next up, we have one copy of Wallow. Can't say enough good things about Wallow. Wallow's just good. It's one of those really feel-good zombie cards where you're just like, yeah, I got Wallow on the board. Think we're going to be okay for at least a turn. Like, we're going to give you the control you want. It's just, yeah, Wallow's good. Wallow's good. Enough said about Wallow. No, not enough said about Wallow, actually. Moving right along here, we have one copy of Officiator of Doom Samuel. Now, this is one of the newer cards that did come out in Blazing Dominion recently. And it's one of those cards that, like, it really lends itself to what zombies are currently trying to, like, move to. So before, zombies were very much in this space of, oh, we're going to continuously bring each other back, kind of flooding the board. That was all nice and cool and stuff like that, but they really didn't have too much negation. They had a little bit of monster removal here and there, but the big negator that we kind of had was Balindroke, and that was kind of it. So to really see now with Officiator, with things like Stare of the Snakehair, like which both of them act very, very similar, and the fact that, Snakehair is a 6 and Officiator is also a 6, it really kind of lends to that too. So, bringing back a zombie to be able to go ahead and negate someone, it just plays right into what they already do. Next up, we have Dhampir Vampire Sheridan. Now, this card is a little bit older, but with the Hecahands setup and you snatching your opponent's monsters, this works super duper well to be able to also go into, especially if you were able to just get 2 of your opponent's monsters. You can just go right into this regardless of what the levels are, which is just good to just be like, yeah, I get a monster. Even mix and match in levels, it really just works out really well with this card. So fantastic for what this deck already wants to do. Then we have Undying Legion. Now, Undying Legion, gonna overlay on top of whatever you've already used regarding 6 zombies. So it's basically gonna act like the Gaiaxes was before, but for zombies. So it's kind of updated, really nice to have, and really good to use. Next, we got a couple 7 staples. So we're gonna have Dracosac here to start off that there. Dracosac, just great 7, enough said. It's staple if you're running 7s, so there you go. Next, we have Big Eye, zombies, the Hecahands. Yeah, Big Eye just works in there. It's just gonna do Big Eye things. It stares at you, it snatches you, there you go. Soul snatch, just like that. Next up, Typhon. You're gonna need Typhon. It's staple. You don't argue with staples. You're gonna run Typhon, you're gonna run Little Knight. These 2 are going to be the 2 main staples you're going to see in this extra. These are 2 cards you're going to pretty much put in whatever deck out there, so you don't really need to get into them too much. Then we'll get into the Hecahands lineup here. We have 2 Hecahands. Jowza. Jowza is the main Hecahands card you're going to kind of go into. It's going to be the card that's going to be your extender. It's going to be the card that's going to use your opponent's stuff. And it's going to be the first Hecahand you're going to try to go into if you can anyway, in most situations. So, yeah, Jowza, fantastic. The reason why I've opted to run 2 is because I've run into issues with having just one where it's either banished, negated, or just stuck, and I can't get it back for whatever reason. And it just makes getting to the Xeno that much harder. So I opted to run 2 to make sure I can guarantee get to the Xeno on either my first or second turn. And speaking of Xeno, we're just going to go ahead and show that off because it's Xeno. Absolutely. You run this. You run this with no remorse. Go ahead and pluck through your opponent's extra deck and just start taking stuff out and be like, I like this one. I don't like that one. It's so good. It's so good. Next up, we have the Flying Mary. It's actually surprised me. There's a few combos I kind of want to show that it can go into. Once I do the combo video for this, I'll definitely get into that. But yeah, the Flying Mary, definitely going to be one of those cards you're going to want to have. If you don't have one, you could use Vampire Sucker as well, but it's just not going to work as well because you're putting a monster back on your opponent's board, and you don't really want to do that if you can. But Flying Mary, definitely worth a try if you haven't. And then finally, last card to come out of Blazing is going to be Hecahands Daedalus. Now, Daedalus is a card I'm trying. I haven't actually gone into it too much myself, but I did think that it was worth at least putting in the deck and trying it out. So the thing that Daedalus suffers from is the fact that its effect isn't as controlly. Its effect is more like a game ender. If you already have Xeno and Jowza out, then yeah, sure, if you can go into it, great. If you don't have those out, then he doesn't really do anything besides the fact that he can just run right through and hit your opponent in the face. Yeah, he's not bad. If you're going for more utility and more control, which is what Hecahands kind of like live in, then it makes more sense to just go into and start off with Jowza and Xeno as opposed to going into Daedalus. So, like I said, I haven't actually used them yet. I haven't actually gotten a chance to use them or been in a situation where I'm like, yes, this makes sense to go into him yet. But I can see his applications in a vacuum. Just one of those things that I want to make sure I'm being completely honest with you guys about. So I like to make sure that I am both giving advice and speaking on things that I have actually been able to experience or been able to actually build or deal with. So, if I haven't dealt with it yet, I'll tell you guys that. If I have, I'll also be honest with you guys and tell you guys that too. All right, and with that, we have officially reached the end of the video there, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure you do a little doodle in the comments down below for whatever other deck profiles you want to see me do. I do have a couple other deck profiles I am going to be putting up here shortly, and I'm going to go ahead and do that combo video here for this deck here as well. But in the meanwhile, guys, you guys have a great one, and I will catch you in the next one.